All right, so that's what the growth's looking like now. It's been just about 3 weeks. I've had the seeds down for just over 2 weeks. That's about the same amount of growth I had after laying down a bunch of seed in the early summer without pre-germinating those seeds. But it was a lot warmer then, and for about the past week, we've had a bunch of cloud cover and the temperature's been abnormally cool. It's still early September now. The sun's been back out for a couple of days and I'm getting some good growth out of the seeds again. Hopefully that stays the case and the seeds end up taking off. Things I could have definitely done better when laying down these seeds. I would have left the seeds in the water for a little bit longer to let the seeds germinate and start sprouting a little bit longer. Obviously that's going to be temperature and climate dependent and everything else. The other thing I would have done is I would have definitely let the seeds sit and dry out for longer before trying to put them down. You saw what ended up being kind of a bit of a disaster trying to get those seeds out of the bag and lay them down. And that led to ultimately big clumps of seeds everywhere. And then the seeds started kind of drowning each other out, which made it really, really hard for each seed to get the potential to sprout. Another thing I could have done is let the seeds dry out, and then I could have put them in the peat moss spreader, mixed it up with some peat moss, and then just rolled them out essentially where I wanted them over the bare spots. Could have also put some sand in there, or I could have put some Milorganite, which would have been really nice because then I would have got some extra nitrogen down onto the seeds as well, and so essentially some starter fertilizer. Now Milorganite sounds like a great idea. I could have definitely mixed that in with the seeds prior to laying down the seed. If you are going to mix in some Milorganite into the grass seeds prior to putting them down, whether that be through a spreader or by hand or whatever, the 32-pound bag it comes in, and that'll cover 2,500 square feet. So I did the math for you. That comes out to about 1 pound for every 75 square feet. That would work great if you're doing something like I was, which is patching up some bare spots. Now, some things to consider when talking about pre-germinating the seeds compared to just laying down normal grass seed. This was definitely more time consuming on a daily basis. Although it was only 10 or 15 minutes per day, I had to go out there for a solid 8 or 9 days and put some work into it. Where I could have just spent a Saturday morning throwing down some grass seed, covered it with some topsoil or peat moss, watered it, and basically left the seeds there to grow just like normal overseeding. Now, as far as ways to get the seeds to dry out more before putting them down, aside from just basically pulling them out of the water and leaving them there, the only other best way I've heard of is basically to lay the seeds out on some plastic or driveway, spread them out as much as possible, let them get some sunlight, and then just let them completely just dry out like that. Probably would still want them to be a little damp, but definitely not as damp as they are when you pull them out of the bucket after just a 10-minute soak for 24 hours. That's what I did, and they were way too damp to lay down effectively. Especially if you were trying to do a whole yard, that would never work. Hopefully, if the seeds get dry enough, I could put them into a normal seed spreader or fertilizer spreader and then just throwing those out on the yard just like that. That would have been way more effective than what I ended up doing. Another thing I would have done is I probably would have put a little bit more top dressing or topsoil on top of it. I was also reading online that there's no real need to put peat moss on top of the seeds because that additional nutrient matter isn't really going to help the seeds out much at this stage. Normal topsoil would be a great use, and it's essentially just kind of a waste of peat moss. And just another minor point, you only need 1 paint strainer for each bag of seeds. I put 2 on there because it came in a 2-pack. I've never done it before and wanted to make sure that the seeds weren't going to spill out into the bucket. There was no need for that. No seeds spilled out at all. 1 paint strainer would have been more than enough. Okay, so that's everything I've got for this pre-germination grass seed lessons learned video. I hope you enjoyed it. This is definitely all the stuff I'm going to put into practice next year in the spring when I go ahead and put down a bunch of grass seed in the yard and try to get my grass a little thicker. I'm going to put all these tips and tricks into practice, see how it works out. Obviously, I'll document it and I'll let you know. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it.